Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Fish Door County TV. Well, as you can see, it's pretty early in the morning. We're heading out of Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and that can mean only one thing. We're heading out for some big king salmon out on Lake Michigan. And we're doing something a little unique today, a little special compared to what we've done before, and that we're fishing out of a small boat. And the one unique thing about Door County, whether you're fishing up in northern Door, out of Gills Rock, Washington Island, Bailey's Harbor, or Sturgeon Bay here, is that you can really take advantage of this outstanding fishery, whether you have a big boat or a smaller boat like we're in today. We got our buddy Kevin Smith up here with us today. He was nice enough to bring his G3, which is rigged up perfectly for salmon fishing. And we're going to give you guys some great ideas on how you can take advantage of this great fishery if you're in a small boat or a big boat. So stay tuned. You ready, Kev?
Let's go.
All right, we'll be back in 1 minute. That's cool. First fish of the morning out here, guys. We got it on a dipsy. And as you can see, he's up on the surface back there already. It's a pretty nice fish to start off with. Like we said, we're small boat fishing today. And small is a relative term, of course, because we're in actually, Kevin's nice 18-foot G3 here, and this is actually a pretty spacious boat for the length of it. It really fishes salmon nice. Give you some ideas on how you can take advantage of this fishery out here, whether you're a big boat guy or smaller boat guy, because there's plenty of opportunities up here in Door County for, like I say, relatively small boats to take advantage of this great salmon fishing. So, okay. That's a nice fish right there, guys. Pretty awesome. This beautiful king right here, so great way to start the morning, huh, Kev?
Perfect.
It's a beautiful fish, and that's what we're talking about, guys. You can take advantage of this fishing no matter what size boat you got. Gonna get into a little bit of details here, but for a start, this beautiful king right here. What you got going on there, Kev?
All right, just hooked up on a dipsy here out in 217. Pretty good fighter again.
Yeah, he really whacked it good.
Yeah, that was a good bite. Coming at the boat here a little bit.
Bringing him in hot on us here to test the net man, or what?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little tricky here.
Here we go. There we go.
All right.
All right. Another nice king. Well, here's Kevin's nice little king here, and that just shows you, I mean, when you get days like this, when the conditions are relatively quiet and you can get out here in a smaller boat, you really want to take advantage of it, because when the conditions are right, like I said, fishing out of these smaller boats can be really enjoyable. I mean, it's just kind of a different experience, and a lot of guys are used to being out here in big setups and wide open big boats. And to be honest with you, catching fish like this out of these smaller sets is really a good time. So when the conditions are right, make sure you take advantage of it. You don't need a lot of high-end fancy equipment to do this. I think a lot of people get under the, get the wrong impression that you need to have a lot of high-end gear, and you really don't. I mean, you can come out here with a couple of hand crank downriggers and a couple of dipsies and a couple boards, and you can put fish like this in the boat all day long.
The question I always used to get asked a lot was, on a small boat situation, is it better to run 2 downriggers or 4 downriggers? And I gotta be honest with you, maybe years ago we would try to put as many downriggers on the boat as we could. Nowadays what we do is, we pretty much stick to the 2 downriggers. It's really because of all the other techniques that we have, coppers, lead cores, all the different planer boards, all the multiple dipsy sets we could do. So we pretty much on a smaller boat, we're talking small, anywhere from 24 feet on down, maybe even 26 feet on down. It depends on the situation. Any outboard situation, definitely want to have 2 downriggers, especially on these small boats. But one way of increasing your odds on the downriggers are running sliders. And sliders are basically just another line that you attach onto your main downrigger rod line. And it's just, especially when you're fishing deep, that bait usually, if your downrigger, let's say, is down 50 feet or 100 feet, the slider will usually be half of that, or at least an idea somewhere in about half. But that's one thing you can do when the fish are scattered throughout the water column, especially when you're fishing when there's a lot of steelhead around. Sometimes those sliders are up in those zones, and if you run a bright colored spoon like that, you might be able to catch an extra fish or 2. And then some days they actually work really, really well. But just remember this, that they always do count, especially in the state of Wisconsin, as another line. So here we're allowed 3 lines per person, so that would count as another line. But as long as you're legal as far as that goes, put them on and put more fish in the boat for you. Well, I'll tell you what, when you get into these fish, that's the one cool thing I always enjoyed about salmon fishing, is that they're usually not singles. Usually, especially this time of the morning here, after that early morning bite, you get into these little pods. We talk about it all the time. You get a little slow action, and all of a sudden you get 2-3 bites. You go for a little bit longer, you get 2-3 bites. So one thing to think about whenever you're out there, they're usually not just cruising around by themselves. This feels like a nice fish here. It's one of the other things that we do when we're fishing out of small boats. We really utilize the planer boards, because it just adds a whole nother dimension to our fishing. One key to finding these active fish, especially when that main bite, that early morning bite, is done. You get out there right at the sun, before the sun pops up, that non-stop action. Once you're past that, then it's just another, you got to try to find these fish, and that's one of the fun things, especially when you got a small boat. You can cover water fast, you can, weave in and out of the traffic, and if you have to, in a quick heartbeat, if you want to pick up and move to another location, you pull your lines. You got a pretty good horsepower engine, and the boats travel pretty fast. You can pick up and go to another spot. It's all about being mobile, and I'll tell you what, here up in Door County, that's one of the nice things, is being mobile.
All right, just hooked up on another planer board. Planer boards seem to get hot here real quick.
I'll tell you what, Kev, you get a double, and like we were talking, you come through a little pod here. I don't know what we got on here, but might be a small king, could be a small steelhead, I don't know.
And mine's jumping out behind the board there. I think we got a rainbow on here. We'll see.
Not a monster by nobody's standards, but definitely going to taste good on the grill. A lot of people ask us, hey, can you release these fish? You know, there are circumstances, there are times when you can. But, you know, when you put them in the net and you handle them, you're better off to put them in the live well. You know, if they're small, you get them in, you just take the pliers and you can shake them off. You know, that's probably the best scenario. But this thing we're going to throw in the live well.
Still jumping back there pretty good. Hopefully we can keep it on.
Yeah, nice fish. Nice fish. Okay. That's one of the nice things, Kevin, you know, when you're out here, we're fishing for kings, you put some high lines out and you got a good shot at catching some steelhead.
Nice. All right.
Oh, that's a dandy. Beautiful fish.
Well, we got a nice steelhead on here off of a segmented lead core on a board. Like we said earlier, the boards are really going now. Got a little snap weight on here on a little segmented lead core just to get it a little extra depth. Sometimes that's a good technique. Pretty easy to take on and off. Gives you a little extra depth. Easy thing to adjust. If it's not working, take it off and cover a little different section of the water column. Atta boy, Kev. Good job. That's a nice steelhead there. That's just a beautiful fish. That's a nice fish, and I mean, look at the colors on that thing. Completely different type of fish than the king, obviously. A little higher in the water column for the most part. This one came, like we said, on a segmented lead core. Dipsy, dipsy, dipsy! All right, now we're into them pretty good.
Another double. Try and keep this one on this time. Feels like another nice one. There's a nice run.
So as Kev works on that dipsy fish here, to get this steelhead unhooked. Just a beautiful Door County steelhead. Doesn't get much more fun than catching these and then doubling up on what appears to be a nice king on the dipsy. So you get this guy in the box and work on Kevin's fish here.
Still working on this second fish off the double.
You know, as Kev works this fish in here, it's a good time to kind of talk a little bit about the setup we have here. And it's kind of unique because this boat is set up really well for small boat salmon fishing. And like I said, an 18-foot boat, it's a nice wide beam on this boat, which really helps. But no matter what kind of set you have, it's kind of important to keep things, well, I kind of like to call it simple. I mean, not overly simple, but what we have here is we have two downriggers like we talked about earlier, and that seems to be the right number for this style of boat. We'll run a couple dipsies, we'll run two boards. Sometimes those 6 lines, if the bite is on, that's all you need. You don't need to get into running 4 downriggers or 4 dipsies and shallow sets and deep sets on them. A lot of times 6 rods. Sometimes we'll even run a lead core down the chute, we call it, right down the middle if you want to add a 7th rod that's not going to get in the way of anything else. And you know, 6, 7, at the most 8 or 9 rods, that's all you need on these sets. And it's a great way to catch fish, and it's a great way to make sure everything stays fairly clean as you're fishing. Let's get this fish in now. Kev's got him pretty close to the boat here. Yeah. Oh, that's a beauty too. Real nice. There we go. Oh, that's a nice one, Kev.
All right.
What a beautiful fish, Kev. I mean, beautiful colors. Great day on the water. I want to thank you for bringing your boat up here and showing us and showing a few other people how you got it set up and how effective it can be to catch these fish, even out of what's classified by a lot of people as a smaller rig.